Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Question: how do the pros gauge tension when they go to a new tournament or venue? I'll answer that today. All right, guys. So before I get started, if you want to buy me a coffee, please do so. The website is buymeacoffee.com/tennis spin. Link is below. Thank you everybody for keeping me awake as I've been needing it these days. A lot of early mornings, but glad that you would like to spend some time with me every day, and I thank you for that, and I appreciate that. All right, so pros, excuse me. I need that. So pros. So how do pros gauge tension with their own strings, yet in a different venue? So as you know, the tennis tour, whether it be the men's tour, the women's tour, the challengers tour, the ITF, is a grind. You basically go from week to week to different places, and you have different stringers there, unless you bring your own little portable pro stringer. The stringer will be a little different. So when you go, or when the pros go to a different venue, you obviously have a different person stringing it. You obviously have a different machine that strings the racket. So we have two X factors now that alters the feel, the tension of those rackets. So what do pros do that can help gauge what the person strings it at and what the machine strings it at? Well, from my own experience, this is how it usually works. They come in on a Thursday or Friday during qualifying, and they're early. They probably lost the round before, and they hand me one single racket, and they ask me, "You think that string's tight or loose?" And I was like, most of the time I say it's pretty accurate. And then they go, I will string it at 50 pounds, which is kind of like maybe their default. I'm just saying 50 just as an example. And then so they have what 50 is supposed to feel like in their head and in their body. So we get it done. They go out and play with it and test it during like a practice round or some hitting. And they basically bring it back to me and say 51 or 52 or 49 or 48. Now, the next thing they ask is that they want the same person to do it, and they want the same machine with the same person to do it. So those factors matter because different people string different ways. Alters tension, alters feel. The machine, not all machines are the same. Even though you have the same machines, they string differently. So what happens after that? Well, after one string job, they can gauge it already. So as they play more, they will make slight adjustments to that. Go up a little, go down a little, depending upon their own feel. And then there's also conditions of the courts, whether the floor or the surface is fast or slow, if it's going to be sunny or if it's going to be cold, will also affect what they want in that tension. Now, I'm going to show you the three machines that I have here. Each of them, although are high-end machines, will string slightly different. So let's take a look at them right now. I'm going to start with the two Biardos. As you can see, though, there are no differences in these two. There are no differences. They are Wilson Biardo machines. They are current models. They are the newest models. This one was purchased about 3 years ago. This one was purchased about 2 years ago. So that makes a difference. This has pulled a lot more than this one. But even if I bought both of these at the same time, right? Even though they're calibrated at the same time, and I got them both at the same time, there are slight differences, and there will be slight differences. So let's say a pro gave me 2 rackets and said, I want these both done at 50, okay? And I do one here and one here. Do you think there'll be a difference? Yes, there will. Even if the X factor is me doing it on both machines, right? So even if the same person does it on both machines, there will be a slight feel difference. And we can't calculate for that because we don't know. That's why pros want one machine, one person, same machine, same person. Now, the third machine I have is a Dunlop. Like, it's the same pulley system. It's essentially the same clamping system. This really shouldn't be that different than those. The motor is kind of the same system, but what we don't know, we can't calculate like micro things that the pros feel. I mean, like I said, these are all high-end machines, but you can't calculate for the X factor, is that they can feel differences. I know for a fact that in the US Open and probably all the slams, they bring in anywhere from 50 to 100 stringers, and they basically assign you a machine. And they're all numbered. They're all numbered from 1 to 50 or 1 to 100, depending on the volume of the stringing needed. And you basically are going to your machine every day and stringing the same people that you started with every day. For example, like Rafa in the French Open, okay? If he doesn't have his personal stringer, which I don't think he doesn't use one right now. But, so let's say, for example, Rafa, okay? He goes into the tournament, the French Open, and he turns his rackets in on the first day. Well, let's say I get it on machine number 20, okay? So I get his fleet and I string them all up, right? I am bound to that number 20 machine. I am bound to sticking to that machine with Rafa until he loses. So if he's in the final, I'm essentially in the final with him, waiting for his racket to come in if he needs it done in the middle of that match. I do not leave the tournament until all of the guys that I strung for in the beginning of the tournament essentially loses. So if Rafa's in the final, I'm in the final. So I'm waiting until he's done, because he's probably going to be the last person there. And I'm waiting to see if he needs one done at the end. So it's kind of luck of the draw when you string in those tournaments. So X factors, these pros can feel it. Too tight, too loose. The person has something to do with it. The machine has something to do with it. And a lot of it really has to come down with the way you string, where you clamp, how much pressure you put on those clamps. Your technique has a lot to do with all of these things. They only use these high-end electronic machines because these are these are the most accurate machines. When you do a drop weight or when you do a crank, it's so difficult to match 2 or 3. I've tried to do those like years ago as perfect as I can, and it's hard. You can't do it. That's why we had to upgrade to these electronic machines. But that's how the pros do it. That's how they gauge your stringing and their tension in these tournaments. Okay? Thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.
Oh, Jesus.
Coach Goot, you just broke a string.
I guess
what
so.
What are you going to do now?
I have no idea.
What about Racket-Aid? All you have to do, go online to Racket-Aid.com, take your broken string, put it in the box, ship it off, and it comes back strong. When you break a string, don't you want a box to hit you?